The Insubordinate Barber, right here on Loren Live VMG. I'm your host, Christopher Gergen, and with me, as always, is the constitutional conservative Republican candidate for Washington Governor, Mr. Loren Culp. Good evening, Loren.
Good evening, Chris. It's good to be back with everybody on Friday night, video live. So we've got a great show tonight.
We
That's
really
for
do.
sure. Yeah.
We really do. We're excited. You know, before the show opened, we had the opportunity to talk with Bob, who is going to be coming on here in just a moment. And he's just a fantastic guy, isn't he?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it was great talking to him before we started here. I can't wait to delve into it a little deeper.
Former Marine. No, I'm sorry. Not former. He's a Marine.
Exactly.
Yeah, hoorah.
Yeah. Once a
Absolutely.
Marine, always a Marine. There's no former.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
well,
his stance kind of reminds me of 2018 when I stood up and said that gun law was unconstitutional. I wasn't going to enforce it.
Sure.
You know, and that's what he's doing up there with his business. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
Let's bring him in here. Hello, Bob. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
First time I've done anything like this.
Well, it gets easier over time. I remember the first time I'd ever did one of these. It was very nerve-wracking. I was on national TV, actually. But Bob, can you tell everyone watching what you do for a living and how long you've been in business?
I started a barbershop in 1969, February the 19th. And I first started cutting hair in the service up in Kodiak, Alaska in 1960. And I was introduced because one of my black sergeants asked me if I ever cut hair. And I says, I cut my brother's hair one time. He says, okay, you be the barber. And that's how that started. And then after I got out, I wanted to go to college for a while. I thought I wanted to be an attorney, or get into law. Mm-hmm. And it was just, I changed my mind. I started cutting hair to work my way through school. And I liked it, so I just decided to do it. And that's why I'm doing it today. It's been a good occupation. People are happy. You can make people happy. It's an art form. And I've always enjoyed it. People tend to like my work. And so I worked for other people for a while, and then I opened my own place up.
Okay. And how long have you been where you're at now?
I've been here 51 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Well, just about, 50 years anyway. February the 19th, 1969.
Wow. That's almost as old as I am. I'm 59. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So you served in the United States Marine Corps, is that correct?
Yeah, from 1960 to 1966, yes. Yeah, okay. And it was good. I was a grunt Marine, 0311 they called them. And it was a good time. You meet a lot of people from all over the world, and certainly all over the United States. A lot of fun people. And it was good training for discipline.
Right.
You learn discipline, and you learn how to stand up for what's right. And that's one of the reasons that I stood up against Inslee, is that I'm a constitutionalist, and I just think that he's stepped way out of bounds, and he's not a very smart person. He's just what he's doing is just wrong, just out and out wrong. And I wasn't going to put up for it. I'm not going to listen to somebody like that, and I don't think anybody else should either. So I tried to get out.
That stance that you made got you in the news quite a bit, didn't it?
Well, I guess it did. I haven't seen anything. People tell me I saw you on the news or whatever. I haven't listened. The only one I listened to was a guy that had a talk show, radio host, and he was really kind, and he laughed a lot and everything. But he was easy to talk to. The TV people came in. The King TV was just fine, but the other TV stations, I think, were probably they're more liberal, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But it's just, I don't know. I didn't know all this was going to happen. I would have done it anyway, but I just was kind of surprised that people they come up and slap you on the back and say, hey, glad you're doing what you're doing. I said, are you working? No. Why don't you go to work? Well, I'm afraid to. Well, don't be afraid. Stand up against these guys. This COVID thing is a bunch of crap. You know, I granted, there's something that's called the flu, but you know, I was really suspicious after it closed down for 30 days, and then doctors are getting paid to say people died of a COVID thing. and that was just a bunch of garbage.
Right.
They got paid a lot of money. Why? What's the story behind that? I couldn't believe what they had to say anymore, and I just don't believe in wearing a mask and all the stuff they're trying to make you jump through all the hoops. It's just a bunch of hooey.
Their projections in the beginning were catastrophic, right? And
It was, but I gave them 30 days, and after 30 days, it just smelled rotten to me. It didn't smell
make
right.
sense, right?
No, it did not.
Yeah, why can you go into Walmart or a marijuana store or an abortion clinic, and Home Depot, where there's possibly hundreds of people, but you can't go into a barber shop and get your hair cut?
It's crazy.
That kind of smells rotten, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, absolutely. Just none of it makes any sense. I think they're trying to trash the economy to make Trump look bad, for one. And I think that the economy has to do, there's a Marine named Smedley Butler.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he said that all wars are bankers' wars. Well, this is a war we're in. And the bankers are in trouble right now. The central bank's going broke. The Federal Reserve tits up. And now that the Treasury Department is supposed to be taking over that, and it should have been done that way in 1913 when Woodrow Wilson was in, but he kind of poked it to everybody when he went ahead and okayed that thing.
Well, General Smedley Butler, for those of you that don't know, I actually read his book. He wrote a book called War is a Racket. And
he did.
He talks about all the wars. I think he died in the 1950s, I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah, he had been a general in the Marine Corps and spent a lot of time fighting wars, different wars from the early 1900s, all over the place, in skirmishes and things that we had, even with Mexico. And he said that the money people followed wherever he went and led troops into battle. And it's a very interesting book to read.
He's right on the money.
And so why do you think what our governor's doing to us right now by telling us that we can't work, we can't go out, we can't do what we want to? Why do you feel that's unconstitutional?
Well, it's in the Constitution. He just does not have the right to infringe upon what our rights are, and he's been doing that. Why he thinks he can do it, I have no idea. But my attorney down in Texas says he thinks he's a king, but I'm going to make a queen. I'm going to make a queen out of him.
Very good.
So
what are your plans for the future? Are you going to keep on?
Well, I'm going to keep on doing what I do. I love, I've been here so long. A lot of these kids used to sit on a little board down here are bringing in their grandkids now. And guys your age, and so I'm like a grandpa to a lot of these kids. And I had a lady in here today that brought her two little kids in, and she happened to be the son of a kid that I used to cut his hair when he was a little boy. And David Holbert, he used to be a judge over in Everett. And I thought it was Bill. That would have been her grandpa. I thought it was his daughter, but so I'm thinking, gosh sakes, there's been a lot of water under the bridge. But so I'm cutting their little boys, cute little boys. And by the way, their name was Liberty and Justice, and what was the other one? But they had names for our Constitution, basically.
Wow.
It was really cute. That's their real names.
But
yeah, they're really cute. But anyway, the point is, a lot of these kids I've watched grow up, and I just can't walk away from this. And I don't want somebody like that idiot down there in Olympia telling me what I can and can't do. This has been my livelihood, a lot of friends through the years, and it's been a joy for me. And I raised 3 daughters, and I helped raise 3 of my grandchildren. And one of them now he told me when he was 7 years old, Grandpa, I'm going to be a pilot when I get big. And now he's flying the Black Hawk for the Army. He's in the Army.
Oh, wow.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah. You make somebody, a little kid, believe in himself, and he can do anything.
Absolutely.
And you want to keep the fire burning in their gut, and they can do anything. Let them know that they can do anything.
And be an inspiration to them.
Yes, absolutely. And I do that with kids here too, when I see them here.
Yeah.
So make them believe in themselves.
When you joined the Marine Corps, you took an oath, right?
Absolutely, and that same oath that you took, and that all the policemen take. And, and how can somebody that takes that oath go against the very thing that they swore to do?
Right. And in that oath, it says that you swear to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
That is awesome.
I didn't expect to have to deal with people that are, but that's why I believe that anybody that's serving in our country in any way and politically, they should have a military background, because they really have the heart and the soul that it takes to and hopefully be honest. There's certainly not any honesty back in Washington, D.C. right now that I can see, and right here in Olympia for that matter.
Yeah, I agree on the military. I mean, it tests your mettle.
Absolutely.
You find out who you are pretty quick.
Yeah, and you find out there's a lot of good people and that you work with that feel the same way, and that's maybe why they're trying to take our guns away, because they don't like people they think you're dogmatic or whatever they call it, too rigid. And all we're trying to do is hang on to what our forefathers helped to bring about, and we need to hang on to that. We can't afford to let anything go away.
Well, yeah, we have the right to protect ourselves. I mean, that's given to us by our Creator. It says that right in the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
And the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were put in place to protect our rights. So, yeah, to have our governor sitting up there, like you said, like he's acting like a king and wants to take away our right to our happiness and our right to make a living and do what we want with our family. That goes against everything that I believe in.
Well, everybody that's coming in here says the same thing, and there's been a ton of people. I wish other people would go open up their shops, and everybody has to make a living, and I just don't. I can't stand up to this kind of. I mean, I've been doing good for my age and everything, but I got to sit down quite often just to rest my back,
right?
Because you're kind of stooped forward, and but anyway, it's been a challenge, but that's okay. I'm up for challenges, and I'm up for standing for everything that our Constitution stands for. And everybody that comes in here is heartwarming to me. Just all the money that they donate towards a cause. If I have to use part of it for whatever, fine. If I don't, like I said, it's going to go to the food bank when this is all over with.
That's a very honorable thing. Yeah, and there is a ton of people out there. When somebody steps out, like I did back in 2018 and like you're doing now, it's amazing, isn't it, how people just kind of come out of the woodwork and don't even know you, but are thanking you.
Exactly right, and it's very heartwarming, and it's almost humbling that But why aren't these people saying more all along? Somebody, I guess, has to stand out, and I don't. I guess it happened to be me to stand out, but because nobody else stood up to the plate. Why? Why don't they stand up to the plate? Why don't they just go back to work? The ones that can, the entrepreneurs. Why are you going to let somebody like that idiot down there tell you what you can and can't do, all based on bogus science over this COVID thing? That's a bunch of crap.
Well, they feel threatened. The news media is telling everybody on one hand that this is going to kill them, and then the government on the other hand is clamping down on everybody and telling them they need to stay home. So a lot of people are scared. A lot of people don't have, the guts that you do. But once you do step out there, it empowers other people. I found that out myself.
Right.
And so, what you're doing is huge, and a lot of people are going to see this broadcast. And they're gonna tell themselves, Bob stood up, and he's running his business. I need to do the same thing because we are free people. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%. The American people are interesting because the news media, which is owned by the liberals, they can tell you, okay, I remember a few years ago they said there's going to be a meat shortage, and people went out and bought a whole bunch of meat, and sure as heck there was a meat shortage. And we are predictable. I don't know where that toilet paper thing came from, but they went out and bought a bunch of toilet paper. That's just an example. If people are going to be told there's going to be a shortage, then everybody runs out and buys a bunch of stuff. And it's really, I don't know.
I don't know where the toilet paper thing came from either. It's a respiratory illness, right?
Yeah, it is.
But it certainly happened. That's for sure.
Well, a lot of people did get sick, but they get sick anyway with the flu. So I just couldn't buy into it when all the doctors are getting paid several $1,000s to say that somebody died of COVID. It happened to one of the kids that works here with me. He's an Army veteran too. He got hurt over in Sandbox, I brought him on board. He got hammer. His shoulder's pretty bad shape, but he just I don't know. He's a veteran. I want to have veterans work for me in here. Another one is a veteran. He got hurt over there too, and he's afraid to come in here because he's in a band, and they're half of them are liberal, and the other half are Republican, and he didn't want to get in the middle of something that might create some rift or whatever. That was what he had to say. Yeah. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what he's going to do. But if not, I'll find another veteran in here that needs to take care of his family. I don't have to work this hard anymore. My family and grandkids are raised, and I need to have some young veterans in here that have families to raise, and I want to help them. I'll just give the place to them. I'm not going to even sell it to them. I'll just give it to them, so they can raise their family, and that's what I'm going to do with Tony.
Excellent.
But it's
so. I have a big question for you, Bob. We've never met before, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Who are you supporting for governor of Washington State?
Loren Culp, of course. Well, I sent some money to you guys, so
I appreciate
and part
that.
of the money that's coming in, part of the money that comes in here, and there's a lot of money that comes in here. It's not just haircut money; it's they throw money at you, and I just nobody's ever done that before, but they're standing up. They're standing up to the plate, and I want it to go in the right places. So I helped our sheriff, who's going underneath a lot of pressure right now. They're trying to recall him. I want to help you, and I want to help. I want to help anybody that is a conservative Christian person, and whatever. I don't know what's coming down the pike yet, but I might need my friend Rick Martin down in. He's no relation of mine, but I kind of wished he was. His same name, but. He's an awesome guy, and he's, like I said, he was an Army Ranger, highly decorated, kind of a hero kind of a guy, and he's very passionate about the Constitution, and he has these reasons for feeling that way.
As a lot of veterans are, right?
A lot of veterans are that way.
I've really noticed that a lot. I mean, we took our oath of office serious, so yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and I just I want this thing to get over with. You got an uphill battle ahead of you a little bit, but I think you're doing great. And I think you need just to meet people. I don't know how it'd be down in Seattle for you, but whatever. You need to
work on that.
People. Yeah, and let people know, because there are people down there that are turning over. They're not going to just vote Democrat. I would like to see that all the votes that go in are legitimate votes. I don't know how we're going to be able to do that unless it was Social Security numbers or something. Before that Social Security number comes up more than one time, something's haywire. That's
I would like to see it go back to where we go to a polling place and we vote. We show show up in person.
The precinct committeeman is there. They know who you are. You sign the thing. You vote. You give them the ballot, and then go home. I would like to see that again too. The Democrats have been able to lie and cheat any way they can to get into office, and they don't care who they walk on to do it. So that's what we're up against.
And I'm hearing from a lot of Democrats, in the Puget Sound area especially, that are sick and tired of the far left policies of the Democratic Party, lately, because they feel like the Democrat Party has taken a hard left turn and just left them standing in the middle of the road. And they're contacting me and saying that they've seen what I stand for and they're voting for a Republican for the first time in their life.
Right. I've heard the same thing in here, although most of the people who come in here are all conservative Christians, and they believe in our Constitution, Bill of Rights, and they're waking up. I've had people come here. I had a guy the other day drove all the way up from Portland, Oregon, to come in here for a haircut. Yeah. And then a lot of them from Tacoma and down south, and one from Eastern Washington. But
the word is spreading.
Well, it's about this election coming. We are at war right now, Loren. We are at war. This is war. That's why I brought up Smedley Butler.
Yes, sir.
The war is the bankers' wars, and they want to crash the economy by crashing the banks and crashing everything to make Trump look bad, because I think there's a lot of scared people in Washington, D.C. that's going to have their, hanging in the wind. And, they don't want that to happen, and I just hope people the Marines are taking care of Trump. All his guards are Marines.
Yes, sir.
He doesn't trust the FBI. He doesn't trust the CIA because they've already shown their colors where they've, you can't trust all those people.
Yeah, I remember. You see on TV all the time around the White House whenever they have a camera out there, the Marines standing there, proud as can be in their dress uniform.
They have a job. It's a tough job.
Yeah, very patriotic feeling when I see that.
Absolutely, you bet.
Yes, sir.
So we've
all
got
right, Bob. Well,
we got a battle ahead of us.
Absolutely, we're going to not give up. We're going full speed ahead. We're not going to give up. We don't give in around here. So
we don't give in over here either. We need to get those young people out to vote.
Absolutely. Everybody needs to register to vote. So God bless you, sir. I appreciate your stance, and you just keep driving on. It's inspiring to everyone.
I will. You bet I will. All right.
All right.
Well, thanks,
take
Loren.
care, Bob.
You
bet,
take
Bob.
Care.
We'll see you soon.
Wow.
Right. Oh, how you doing, Chris?
I'm good. That was a fantastic interview.
Is he amazing or what?
He is.
Just made me proud to talk to that man. Honored to. I can't wait to meet him in person now.
Growing up, I was primarily raised not primarily, but a lot of my life I was raised around my grandfather. My grandfather was a very quiet but very direct and very strong individual, and Bob very much reminds me of my grandfather. Just he tells you direct and matter of fact, and nothing, no extra stuff that doesn't need to be in there. He just tells you the way that it is. So
yeah, and that's the way both of my grandpas were. They didn't talk a lot. When they did, you need to listen, because what's coming out is the way it is. I kind of feel like I inherited that from both of my grandpas. Walk softly, carry a big stick.
There you go.
Yeah, and don't beat around the bush.
Nope.
Tell people the way things are. That's what a lot of people I think don't like about politician types is they get asked a question and then they go around this big loop and eventually end up back to where you think the question was, but you don't even remember anymore what really the question was.
Right.
And I don't know. I think people see through that phoniness.
They do, and people are tired of it. That was the thing that was appealing for Mr. Trump when he was candidate Trump, is that people would ask him a question, he would just answer it as only he can. And whether that was offensive to some people's sensibilities or not, that's up for debate. But at least he told you the truth. At least the truth is as he saw it. And people appreciated that. And that's one thing we hear all the time, Loren. I get, emails and messages and all kinds of things every day. And that is one thing consistently that we hear about that they appreciate, is that you just, no nonsense. Here it is. That's it. We even joked about it on the show. Remember the last show at the very end, I was like, okay, one more question. I asked you a question, and then like 10 seconds later you were done. I was like, wow, that didn't work out the way that I saw it in my head.
Well, my grandpa Culp, he was a logger. He was a logger before chainsaws. So, he used buckboards and springboards to get up on the big old growth trees and use crosscut saws.
Wow.
For years. And when I was growing up and into my into my teens, they lived right close to us. We could walk through the woods and get to my grandpa Culp's house and grandma Culp's house. And I spent a lot of time with my grandpa out on a fishing boat around Port Townsend in the Strait of Juan Fuca and in the Sound fishing, cutting firewood, just cleaning up the woods around their place, working in the garden. And my grandpa Culp, he was a very stocky man, very strong man, from years and years of working. And the type of people that, someone would come over to the house, or we would go somewhere to get something that he needed. And I remember him saying, to some people, he'd have a conversation with them, and they'd just go around in circles and say a bunch of nothing. And I remember him saying, and he used different words, but it's sounds like a manure salesman with a mouthful of samples, and we'd get in the truck and drive away. But yeah, so
that's fantastic.
That was my grandpa.
We should put that on shirts.
Yeah, like I said, he used a different word for manure, but yeah, you get the idea.
Right. We should. Yeah, I better stop. There's all kinds of things we could do with that. So maybe some places we shouldn't go on that. But
yeah.
We're going to start, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start taking questions in tonight's Q&A. But so I want you guys to start typing your questions into the chat here.
Oh,
but
and also into the chat. If you want a yard sign, that's most thing that's asked for in the chat. If you want to find out how to get one, just type in the chat #yard sign. And our virtual assistant, Lucy, will immediately send you out a message and get you in contact with the right volunteer around the state. And by the way, we have a massive volunteer Culp army all across the state.
Yes.
Every corner is covered. So if you need a yard sign, type in #yard sign, and like magic, Lucy will take care of you.
Like magic. Loren, I just want to tell you, today we had a milestone. We crossed 20,000 likes and followers. I think we have 23,000 followers, over 20,000 likes.
I saw that.
None of our opponents are even at 10,000.
And how much money are we spending on advertising to get people to our Facebook page?
Well, exactly $0.
Yes, exactly. It's all coming from the volunteers and people who see what we put out, what the message that I have, and it's been just spreading like wildfire.
It really has. And there are detractors and naysayers that say, oh, well, Facebook likes doesn't guarantee voters, and that's true, but when you build a community like that, it allows you the ability to do shows like this one that reach tens of thousands of people. Our VMGs, many of them have tens of thousands of views. And in fact, Loren, on Wednesday night, after we were done with our VMG, within 3 hours, we had almost 10,000 views on that. And so
that's amazing.
We're really humbled, and we are all deeply grateful here at the Culp for Governor campaign for all of you out there watching, working hard on behalf of Mr. Culp to bring attention to the campaign and for folks to hear the message that we're putting out here. It's really fantastic.
It's amazing, starting out in this campaign from having a very small platform to speak from, to now reaching tens of thousands of people 3 times a week. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, and just like Bob, he was just doing what he thought was right. He's standing up for his rights, and all of a sudden he's on the news and people are coming from other states to come and show their support for him. And that's what being an American is, and that's all it takes. It's just standing up. One stands up and another one stands up, and then another one, and then 2 more, and then 10 more. And pretty quick, you got the Attorney General sending out a letter that's saying that if you don't enforce a law, they're going to send in the State Patrol to investigate it. And everybody said, oh, no, I don't think so. And then there were more sheriffs and police chiefs. What are they going to do? Everybody needs to make a decision for themselves. If you own a business, you have to make a decision for yourself. I had a person I was talking to the other day, they said they had to open up. They had to. They're going to lose their business. And I said, well, why don't you? You can do it safely. It's common sense. And he said, well, if I do, I'm going to lose my business. They're going to shut me down. And I looked at him and I said, they've already shut you down.
That's right.
What you have to lose is your life savings if you don't open up.
Right.
And it just kind of hit him like a sledgehammer. He's like, yeah, if I don't, I'm going to lose my business anyway. What have I got to lose? It's my life.
Right.
So everybody just needs to, have a gut check. that we are free Americans. We have never lost our freedoms. We just have not exercised them recently. You know, we made a choice. I understand the news media scared us all to death. This is serious. You know, people have lost their lives because of this. But let's not lose sight of the fact that tens of thousands of people every year lose their life in car accidents, from the flu, from all kinds of things. But we weigh the risk, and we decide that I'm going to go out and it's flu season, but I need to go out and do what I need to do. I know that people lose their life driving in cars, but I need to drive my car. I have a life to live, and it's worth the risk. So I'm not saying be stupid, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, put a mask on if you want to put a mask on. If you're sick, stay home, quarantine yourself. But people should not quarantine. This has never been done in the history of this country. Ever have we quarantined sick, non-sick people. You quarantine the sick. So it's a choice. Everybody's going to have to make it, because I don't see the end of the road with the current governor that we have in place. His plan is really no plan at all. It's arbitrary. Some businesses can be open, others have to be closed. It's all based on what? It's based on Jay Inslee. And I'm telling you people, no one person should ever have this kind of power. No one. I don't care if they're Republican, Independent, Democrat. It doesn't matter. No one person should have this much control over the entire economy of this state and over the entire lives of its citizens. This is unprecedented, and I don't really understand what's behind the scenes. I think that it's evil, and this may be a test run for something later. I don't know. I couldn't believe it when this first happened. It's like, well, what? This is a virus and people could die. Why are they shutting down the economy? Why are they telling us to stay in our homes? This must be really bad. Well, it's turned out that it's not. We were told to do that to flatten the curve. That was done. Now we're told we need to stay home to save lives. And things just don't add up. The field hospitals were set up by the National Guard. Navy hospital ships were sent to each coast. And it wasn't too long after this started that those were dismantled and the ships were sent back to their home port because they weren't needed. So why are we still locked down? They say that it's, well, we don't want to spike. Well, whether we're going to have a spike or not, taking away people's freedoms is un-American. And if you look at the First Amendment, it says that we have the right to peaceably assemble. Jay Inslee says we do not. We can't even go to church. We have the right to go to church. It's in the First Amendment as well. And he has closed down churches. He's closed down our ability to peaceably assemble, which, by the way, we did last Saturday in Olympia, had a heck of a rally with about 1,500 to 2,000 people. That's why I'm sunburnt and my head is peeling now. But that was awesome. The response to the crowd was fantastic. But we all have to look within ourselves and look to the man upstairs, because he's the one in charge, not Jay Inslee. There's one king in this universe, and it's damn sure not Jay Inslee.
Amen.
So think about that, folks. We need to exercise our freedoms. We have not lost them.
So on that note, let's get into our Q&A, Loren. Here's a question from John. I'm not going to attempt the last name. John asks, how will you consider whether a budget proposal from an agency is essential, bloated, etc.? As governor, you would have several agencies that report to you, as well as agencies with their own elected director. How will you work with them and get them to work with you?
Well, all of the agencies that the governor is able to appoint, and by the way, there's 14, 15, 1,600 appointments that the governor makes. Everyone that I appoint is going to have the same mentality, the same outlook on government that I do. And that's that the government works for the citizens. The citizens don't work for the government. The government was put in place to protect citizens' rights and to serve the citizens. You know, that's why they call them public servants. But so many times you go into a government agency, or you have a person come out to your job site or your home, and they show up and they act like they're the boss, they're the ones running things, and you work for them. And that whole mentality is going to be flipped on its head when I become governor. And we're going to go to, I'm going to work my tail off to get us to a zero-based budget instead of the way it is now, where they come in with their budget from the previous biennium and add a percentage to it. And that's the new budget. That's absolutely ridiculous. You can't run your home like that. You can't run your business like that. I ran my own business for over 20 years in the Puget Sound area. And you can't just, well, last year I had this amount, I'm going to add another 10% to that, and that's what my budget is. You can't do that. It's not sustainable. We need to have a zero-based budget where department heads figure out what they need and then propose their budget based on that, not based on what happened last year. But what happens so many times is government agencies at the end of the fiscal year, they have money left over in their budget, so they go on a spending spree. And this could be millions of dollars, often is, that they need to spend, because if they don't spend it, they're not going to get it next year. And that is total waste and fraud. That should not be happening. So if we go to a zero-based budget where the departments have to justify every dollar that they're asking for the next year, not based on last year, based on their needs for the next year. And that will cut down the budget extremely. And we need to do that. We're going to have to do that. We've got to tighten our belt. This is, what's going on in Washington State right now with the businesses shut down. Revenue to the state's going to drop. And I mean, that's what it needs to do anyway, but not on the backs of business owners and families that are losing their life savings. So there's going to be some huge budget adjustments that are going to have to be done. And agencies are going to have to tighten their belt. I know that they're very bloated. They're bloated with people standing around not doing things, and people that do multiple things, redundancy. Someone else is doing that job that you're doing now. And that's what happens a lot of times in government, is it grows and grows and grows. And pretty quickly you have so many people that are doing the same thing that it's unnecessary. You don't run private business like that.
Wasn't there a story you told me about some process, and I don't remember the specifics, some process, someone that works in one of the departments, and there was like 50 people or something like that touched one piece of paper?
Yeah, and I think I've mentioned the department before, but I don't want to out that person.
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't believe how many people are digging into my background right now. I mean, where I work is getting public records requests from people for information on me, and it's like, yeah, send it. I don't have anything to hide. But yeah, I know people in a couple, well, 3 different agencies that work for the state, and there are some agencies where someone comes in and fills out a form to get help, and there's 50 people that handle that application before it gets approved. And that's just because people were added in because they wanted to grow government.
So let's take just a couple of more, just maybe 2 more questions. I received a telephone call today from a gentleman named Chet, who is a union worker, and he wanted to know where Loren Culp stands on unions.
I used to be a union member. Right after I got out of the military, I went to work in the refineries up by Anacortes during their shutdown, their cleanup. And I was a crane operator in there. And before I became a crane operator, I also did other work in those cleanups in the refineries. And I was a member of the, I think it was the International Pipe Fitters Union, even though I wasn't a pipe fitter, but that's what was required at the time to work in the refinery. So I've been a union member. My oldest son right now is a member of the Carpenters Union. He's a foreman with them. My youngest son runs a business that I started back in 1988, a non-union company, small business. So I've been on both sides of the fence. My family's been on both sides of the fence. My older brother was in the union for years. So the way I look at it is it's between the employees and their employer. I don't think that it's any business of the governor to stick his nose in, unless there's a big problem. But if people want to be in a union and they want their company to be union, then that's between them and their employer.
So we have another question, actually several questions about, and we've talked about this on the trail a lot, about education and the changes that you would make to education. Not just, you've been very clear and upfront about your opposition to this disgusting sex education bill, but more on a more practical level. There were some changes that you wanted to make to the education system, and so there's been some questions in the chat regarding where you are on those.
Yeah, we don't have, as far as the budget goes, it's increased. I believe it was $10 billion in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a problem with enough money. I think that we have a problem with eliminating parents' choice. When you give parents a choice of where their children are going to go to school, and let them decide where they want their children educated, whether that's in a different zip code, the city over from you, or the school that's outside of your zip code you think is better, why can't you send your kids there? I think that parents should have a choice. If that's private school, then parents should decide, and the money for that child should go with them. So I also want to see, and getting back to what I was just saying, that will create competition. And we know that in the free market, that competition breeds excellence, right? If you have to outdo your competitor to keep your customers, then you're going to try harder. You're going to do better. You're going to create a better product, right? Well, it relates over to school and teaching children as well. If one school is teaching children better and has a better learning environment, parents are going to want to send their kids there. So the other schools are going to also try to increase the betterment of those children being taught. So I also want to get the trades back in to schools. There's a huge cry for people that know trades, the carpenters, plumbers, electricians, welders. All of those things need to be available in schools. And not everyone wants to go to college, right? So if we can help fast track some of these students into a career right out of high school, then that's going to help fill jobs. That's going to help them in their life. They're going to be making a living, taking care of them and eventually their family, and learning a trade. So woodshop needs to get back into schools. A lot of these trades can be put back in. Mechanics. I mean, you walk into a car dealership and a certified mechanic makes really good money, and they don't have the 4-year degree, but they also don't have that 4-year degree debt. A long time ago, I think it's still out there, as a game of life. It was a board game, and when you played that game, there was a split in the road. You could choose if you wanted to go the college route or if you wanted to go right to work. And a lot of people, very famous people, never went to college. Henry Ford is one of them, one of the richest, most successful people in America during his time. And he didn't go to college. He learned how to do a trade, and he was smart enough to start his own business and create an empire. So there's been a lot of emphasis on get out of high school, go to college. That's been the way it has been for 50, 60 years. And things are changing a little bit. There's people in the tech world that started huge companies that didn't get a degree. So, you know, a lot of people look down on people that don't have a degree hanging on the wall, you know, and if you have a degree, that's great. Not everybody needs one. Not everybody wants one. You know, a dirty job. Mike Rowe has a show called Dirty Jobs, where he highlights, you know, hardworking people. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. You know, we need people that are highly educated, you know, doctors, lawyers, surgeons, but we also need people who know how to work with their hands, who know how to do a trade.
Absolutely.
So we need to focus on that a little bit more on our education at the high school level.
This morning you did a live broadcast, and there was it kind of piqued the interest of some folks. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I did a live just a few minutes this morning, and you know, part of being a leader is if there's something that's said or there's something wrong in the organization that you're leading, that you realize that you are responsible for that. You know, if there's misinformation put out, if someone gave you misinformation and you put it out and then realize that I'm wrong, then you need to be the leader that the people you're leading expect you to be, and take responsibility for it and correct it. And so that's what I was talking about this morning. And I would like to get that corrected right now. So, Chris, would you take care of that?
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, on Wednesday, I shared a bunch of information regarding the other campaigns and the other candidates regarding the fundraising. And in my haste of running through all the numbers and making sure I got everything done properly on the show, I made an error regarding Mr. Freed's numbers that we reported. We reported that Mr. Freed's campaign raised $40,185. And in my haste, I did not look as closely at the numbers as maybe I should have. And I found my error last night, and I made Mr. Culp aware of it. And so I'd like to go on record tonight and apologize to the Freed campaign and to our viewers. I had not realized that Mr. Freed had given himself on April 30th, he had given himself $6,000. So the number that we reported to you last night was actually not correct. The Freed campaign actually only raised $34,185 in donations from the field. So I do apologize for the oversight, and I thank you for your understanding on that. So with that, now the record is straight, and we appreciate you tuning in this evening. Good night.
God bless.